So in order for a signal to be worth your salt, it has to be costly. Otherwise, you're just, forgive the term, a bullshitter, a vacuous virtue signaler.
Today, I talked to the amazing Dr. Gad Saad about virtue signaling versus costly signaling and the complete difference between the two of them. Today's video was made possible at Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now get the Memento Mori poster, a poster to remind you that one day you are going to die. It's 80 years of tiny little squares that you shade in each week, and it reminds you every single week and every single day you look at that poster that time is precious and we must use it wisely. It's been my favorite tool for success this year, and I hope it will be one of yours. Use the link down below and use code STOIC for 10% off. But before that, virtue signaling versus costly signaling. What is the difference, and how can we use this understanding to help be better, to help us in success, to help us in life, to help us in loads of different ways? Let's dive into the video with Dr. Gad Saad.
Another thing that happens online is virtue signaling, and I'm excited to hear the sort of explanation of this. The idea of virtue signaling versus costly signaling.
Yes, beautiful, thank you. So costly, let me back up and explain what costly signaling is. Costly signaling is a concept from evolutionary psychology and evolutionary biology. It refers to the evolution of particular traits in an animal. So for example, the peacock's tail. So the peacock is the male of that species, and then there's the peahen, right? The peacock has evolved this incredibly large tail that is cumbersome to carry, that reduces its survivability. Why? Because by having that big conspicuous tail, it makes you more visible to predators. It makes you less likely to escape predators because you're carrying this incredibly burdensome tail. So it doesn't make evolutionary sense for it to have evolved if it were to increase the survivability of the animal. Therefore, it must have evolved for another purpose. That other purpose is called sexual selection, which Charles Darwin had explained. He explained both natural and sexual selection. Sexual selection are traits that evolve because they confer reproductive advantage to an animal. So even though it might decrease my likelihood of surviving, it increases my likelihood of mating, because the females of that species will find that trait to be uniquely attractive. And so now we're going to come to costly signaling. Well, why do the females find it attractive? Because carrying that tail, it's actually an incredibly profound concept. Carrying that tail serves as an honest signal of my quality as a male. Because what is it saying? It's like a neon advertisement that says, despite the cost of me carrying this very burdensome tail that makes it more likely for me to die because I carry that tail, here I am. Therefore, it's an honest signal of my quality. Shouldn't you choose me as a mate? So in order for the signal to be discriminating, to have value to the females, it must be costly. If it weren't costly, then everybody could imitate it. We couldn't tell the pretenders from the real guys. So let's take that concept in the context of human behavior. Let's say you have a tribe where when men get of a certain age, they want to demonstrate that they are worthy of having access to the most beautiful women in the tribe. They're going to be good mates. Well, let's suppose now we want to create a rite of passage to differentiate between the weaker men and the stronger men, whatever strength means in that case. It might be bravery or courage or physical acuity, whatever it is. Well, if I said, do 5 jumping jacks, and that's how we're going to assort who's who, well, then every guy would say, well, that's easy, I can fake that. And then the ladies won't be able to tell who's who. On the other hand, if I can develop a rite of passage, as they do in Vanuatu in the Pacific small island, where they've developed a ritual which served, by the way, this is discussed in my first book, The Evolutionary Basis of Consumption, 2007 book. a book on evolutionary psychology and consumer behavior. So they have a rite of passage, that tribe, that serves as the precursor of commercial bungee jumping, whereby they take vine ropes. You go up on a very precarious looking platform, 70, 80, 90 feet up in the air. They tie the vine ropes around your ankles, and then you jump off head first to have your head squashed on the ground. Well, that vine rope can, might rip apart because it doesn't have elasticity. So that ritual serves as an incredible, honest signal, costly signal of my bravery. There's no way to fake that level of bravery. So now we come to virtue signaling versus costly signaling. Putting up a sign that says, I support BLM, is an empty, vacuous virtue signal. Speaking out against Islamic theocracy while you live in the Middle East, that's a costly signal. Because boy, is it costly for you to speak out against things that otherwise might get your head chopped off. So in order for a signal to be worth your salt, it has to be costly. Otherwise, you're just, forgive the term, a bullshitter, a vacuous virtue signaler. And of course, most people, going back to cowardice, are very keen on demonstrating that they are virtuous and they are courageous and they really do care and they are compassionate, but they do so via non-costly signals, hence they're frauds. If you're going to truly demonstrate that you're courageous, you have to have skin in the game, and therefore the signal has to be handicapping. So that's the distinction between the two.
It matches up for everything as well, like just in a journey to be successful or to live a prosperous life, is like either you're doing it or you're not. Like talking about, and on social media, those lines are so blurred. Yeah. Like you could even say, I ran a marathon this morning, and you can gain value in that socially, and people believe that you ran a marathon that morning, even if you didn't. You can get, and there are like situations like that happen all the time. I'm trying to think of where to go next. The thing we haven't covered, which again, just to hear your explanation of it would be very beneficial to the video, is evolutionary psychology and So what's the crossover that you have? Evolutionary psychology and
consumer behavior.
Consumer behavior. Yeah. So
talk about that.
Go away. Yeah. Sure. Go for it.
So let me first explain evolutionary psychology. Evolutionary biology is the field that seeks to understand how traits evolve, behaviors evolve, using evolution, right? So why do humans have opposable thumbs? How did that mechanism evolve? Why does a particular bird have the beak that it has so that it is seems adapted and suited to get the nut from the tree that it does? And of course, Charles Darwin solved that riddle by demonstrating that animals evolve these traits through a very elegant process of evolution, right? When sexually reproducing species get together, there is a random mutation that happens with the offspring. If that random mutation has reproductive or survival benefits, then there is selection pressures for that trait to evolve, and therefore eventually all of the organisms within that species will exhibit that trait, and those that don't have that trait will die out. So that if a blue dot appears to increase my survivability, then with enough selection pressures, everybody in that species will have a blue dot, okay? Now, evolutionary psychology is simply taking those principles of evolutionary biology and applying them to the context of the study of the human mind. Why has our human mind evolved to be the way that it is? Why do we experience sexual jealousy the way that we do? Why are we attracted to sexual products in the consumer behavior setting in exactly the same predictable way around the world? Why is it men who largely consume hardcore pornography? Why is it women who will beautify themselves in predictable way using cosmetics? Why are 99% of Ferrari owners men, even though there are countless women who are wealthy and powerful enough to purchase Ferraris, yet they don't line up to purchase Ferraris? So evolutionary psychology is the scientific study of the human mind using evolutionary principles to understand why the human mind evolved to be the way that it is. What I do is I simply take that framework and I apply it in the context of studying our consumatory nature. But I define, by the way, consumer behavior very broadly. It's not just consumption of Coca-Cola and consumption of Starbucks and jeans, but it's consumption of friendships, consumption of religious narratives, consumption of popular culture. Everything is consumatory ultimately. And so what I look at are the fundamental biological and evolutionary drivers of our consumatory nature.
Thank you so much to Dr. Gad for doing this video. I'm going to link all his stuff down below where you can find more on social media and some of his books as well. If you have audible.com, you can actually get his book, The Parasitic Mind, for free, I believe. So go check that out. But also, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who supported us at Mulliganbrothers.com. This took me flying around the world to go do this interview, and it's not possible without your support. So everybody who bought a journal, a t-shirt, a hoodie, whatever it was, you made this possible, and I cannot thank you enough. The new Momentum Mori poster, a poster or a calendar maybe that you'd like to remind you that you're going to die, is now available with the link in the description. It's 80 years of tiny little boxes that you shade in every single week. And it is a stark reminder that time is precious and we must use it wisely. Use code STOIC with the link in the description for 10% off the poster. I cannot thank you guys enough. Have a blessed and productive day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.